I get it, you've just landed a big catering gig or you're planning a holiday buffet that's going to feed the whole extended family. And you're staring at the kitchen wondering if you really need a dedicated hot holding cabinet or if you can just keep things warm in a regular oven. The last thing you want is to spend a few $100 on a piece of equipment that ends up collecting dust because it's either too big, too small, or just doesn't fit the way you work. That hesitation is what I felt when I started looking at low-profile hot food cabinets, and it's why I spent a couple of evenings reading through the specs, watching a few setup videos, and scanning the occasional forum post from people who actually run a line of dishes every night. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the Cambro Camtherm Celsius is a low-profile electric holding cabinet, roughly 30 inches wide, a little over 42 inches tall and deep. It's the size you could slide under a prep counter or tuck behind a serving line without taking up the kind of floor space a full-size walk-in would. That alone makes it an attractive option for anyone whose kitchen layout is already tight but who still needs a reliable way to keep trays of food above 140°F without constantly checking a thermometer. Who should actually consider this unit? Think of small to medium catering operations, boutique cafeterias, or even a serious home entertainer who does weekly dinner parties with multiple dishes that need to stay hot for a while. If you're already using a warming drawer in a high-end range, you probably won't see a big advantage, but if you've been juggling multiple casserole dishes in the oven and worrying about uneven heat, the Camtherm gives you a single, dedicated space where the temperature is stable and the doors stay closed. It also works well for food service businesses that need to comply with health regulations that call for food to be held above a certain temperature. The cabinet's electric heating system maintains that range without you having to manually monitor it. On the flip side, if you're a casual cook who only needs to keep a pot of soup warm for an hour or two, you'll likely find this cabinet overkill. The upfront cost, the need for a dedicated outlet, and the fact that it sits on its own floor space all add up. For those situations, a simple insulated carrier or a microwave's keep warm function can do the job for a fraction of the price. Now, let's talk about the practical strengths that matter once the cabinet is in your kitchen. The first thing people notice is the consistency of heat. Because the unit is electric and purpose-built, you get an even temperature across the entire interior, which means the bottom of a tray won't be cooler than the top. In real-world use, that translates to less risk of a cold spot that could cause a food safety issue or an uneven serving temperature that makes guests complain. The low-profile design also means you can place the cabinet right under a pass-through window, so the line staff can pull hot trays directly from the front without having to navigate a bulky appliance. Another practical benefit is the ease of cleaning. Cambro's reputation in the food service world comes from designing equipment that can be wiped down quickly and that doesn't have a lot of crevices where grease can hide. The interior walls are smooth, the doors seal tightly without a complicated latch system, and you can pull the unit out a few inches to get to the back if you need to mop up a spill. For a kitchen that needs to stay up to code and pass health inspections, that kind of straightforward maintenance can save you time and headaches. Of course, there are trade-offs. The cabinet's capacity, while decent for a low-profile model, isn't as large as the full-size walk-in units that larger restaurants use. You can comfortably fit a few full-size trays, but if you're trying to hold an entire banquet spread in one go, you'll end up rotating dishes in and out, which defeats some of the convenience. Also, because it's an electric unit, you'll need a dedicated 120-volt outlet that can handle the draw. It's not something you can just plug into a standard kitchen outlet without checking the circuit. In a home setting, that might mean an extra installation step or a dedicated line that adds a bit to the overall cost. Energy consumption is another point worth mentioning. While the Camtherm isn't a power guzzler compared with a full-size oven, it does run continuously to keep the temperature steady. If you're planning to use it for just a few hours, the cost difference is negligible. But if you leave it on for a full day, you'll notice a bump on the electric bill. Some users mitigate this by using a timer or turning the unit off when the kitchen is empty and turning it back on a few minutes before service starts. Let's bring this back to the everyday.